Hey guys, hope you're having a good Thursday. It's officially Thursday of Holy Week. Tomorrow is Good Friday. Tomorrow's Devo will be on the crucifixion and talking through that scene and what takes place. And today we are going to be jumping into Jesus when Jesus is before Pilate, and the exchange that they have in John 18. So, before I tell you the passage and before we jump in, I want to back up a little bit. I want to talk about an interaction that we don't see in the book of John, but that we see in the other Gospels that happens between Jesus' arrest and Jesus before Pilate. Just to give us some context of how they got to this position. So I'm gonna look at the interaction between Jesus and the high priest, the elders, the religious leaders out of Luke 22. If you want, you can jump over there now, but I'm just gonna quickly give a snapshot of what happened that led us to the point where Jesus is before Pilate. So after Jesus' arrest, he was held overnight, and then he was taken to the high priest's house. There's different reports of whose house he went to first, but he went to the high priests Annas and Caiaphas. So he was taken to them, and it was his trial, essentially. He was being tried by the Jewish people. So some context about accusations being given in the Old Testament and like in the Jewish day, and kind of still now. You could not bring charges against somebody unless there was two people who would be witnesses that would have the same story. So if there was differences in their story and their story didn't line up, it wouldn't count. And in Jesus' case, they were trying to have so many witnesses bring accusations against Jesus. And for the life of them, they could not get a second person to bear witness to a crime that Jesus had committed without them lying, trying to be false witnesses, and their information just didn't line up, and it just wouldn't work. Every time they tried, it didn't work, and they couldn't actually pin a charge on Jesus. So finally, we see in Luke 22 that the priests and the high priest asked him this question. They finally ask him, "Are you the Son of God?" And his response is, "You say that I am." So he doesn't actually say, "Yes, I am the Son of God." But they take his response as an admission of guilt, and in that meeting, there is therefore enough people to charge him with blasphemy for claiming to be equal to God. So Jesus is then from here taken to Pilate, because the Jewish people can't kill someone. If their laws are clear that a person who blasphemes, who claims to be equal to God, must be put to death. But in their situation, they can't actually crucify somebody. They can't actually, use the death penalty on someone. So they have to go to the Roman leader of their area and ask them to put him to death. That is why in the scene, Jesus is before Pilate. It's because the religious leaders want Jesus to be put to death, and it needs to be Pilate who sentences him. All right. So with the context laid out, let us open up to John chapter 18. We're going to be reading verses 33 through 40 today. So at this point, give this video a pause and let's take a chance and read it. So the big thing that goes on in this passage is kind of centered around verse 35, 36, 37 area. Jesus, in response to Pilate, says, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it was of this world, my disciples would fight for me. My disciples would, essentially saying my disciples would go to war to protect me. My disciples would do everything in their power to make sure that I wasn't put to death by the Romans. He's even saying, I have the power, I have power over you. If my kingdom was actually of this world, not only would my disciples fight, but you wouldn't actually have authority over me. I would have greater authority than you. And he says, but my kingdom's not of this world. And I want to stop and talk about that for a little bit. Jesus's kingdom is not of our world. Which means when we become Christians, the kingdom that we have become a part of is not of this world. Which means we're not living for success in the world. We're not living to receive blessings in this world. We're living for heaven. The kingdom that Jesus is talking about in this passage, the kingdom that the world that his kingdom is about, is a kingdom of heaven. Jesus' kingdom is not of this world. We as Christians are living for another age. We are supposed to be a part of the world, but not of it. We are living for a time where Jesus is ruling and reigning on earth. But that is not now. That is not right now. We are living for that day, but it is not today. Our hope is in a future earthly kingdom that has not yet come, but the kingdom of God is at hand. His kingdom is of heaven, and we have access to that kingdom now. We are living for another age. And what is about to happen in this story as Jesus goes to the cross is what gives us access to the other age, to heaven, to God. So I became a Canadian citizen almost 4 years ago now, and I had to go through a big process, applications, to do a citizenship test. I had to prove that I could speak English. And then I had to have an oath swearing ceremony where I had to swear allegiance to Canada, specifically to the Queen of Canada, which is really funny because the Queen of Canada is also the Queen of the United Kingdom. During that time, I swore my allegiance to Canada. And to become a citizen of heaven, there are certain requirements that we actually can't fulfill. We, as sinful, broken creatures, can't fulfill those requirements. And Jesus is saying, my kingdom is not of this world, is saying that we can't just take it. We can't just get citizenship of ourselves. We actually need Jesus' help. It's through the cross, it's through Jesus actually qualifying us to become citizens that we become citizens of heaven. So then the last thing I want to talk about is Jesus' second response to Pilate. This is what verse 37 says. Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into this world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is the truth?" And after he said this, he went back outside to the Jews, which means Jesus didn't respond. But Jesus' purpose is to bear witness to the truth. Bore witness to was that God, goes back to John 3:16. He bore witness to the depths of God's love for us. That's the truth, that God will go to the ends of the earth to win us back, to fight for us. The Corey Asbury song, which is based out of a parable of the shepherd leaving the 99 sheep to go after the one. one of the truths that Jesus testified of was God's love for us. And that's one of the main messages we are hitting on with the devotional series this week, is the lengths that God goes to show us his love for us. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it on Monday, how great God's love is for us. And we see that over and over again in the story of the crucifixion, but we actually see it in lots of the stories leading up to the crucifixion, that God is constantly trying to show us the incredible love he has towards us. So this is my activity. This is the thing I want you guys to do at the end of this video. I want you guys to, if you have a journal, take your journal out. If not, grab some, a pen and a piece of paper. And I want you to write out a list of things that you're thankful for. You're thankful that the Lord has given you. And I want you to, that's the first list. Write out the things you are thankful that the Lord has given you and done in your life. And the second one is, I want you to write out the times in your life that you have seen God's love for you, where he has gone the extra mile to show you his love. And I think those two activities will really, really bring together today's message. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. Hope you've had a good week and your Thursday's off to a good start. I'm really excited. Tomorrow's video will be talking about the crucifixion, and I'm excited to talk about the death of Jesus and what he did for us on that cross 2,000 years ago. But as always, if you like this video, please drop us a like. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, you can click up here. And if you haven't watched the videos from earlier this week, the playlist is right here. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a great day.